Hello and welcome to this episode of Health in You. I am Sumi Sukanya Datta. Over the last few weeks, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has talked a lot about fighting obesity and cutting oil consumption in food apart from salt and sugar, of course. He has also highlighted how excessive body weight leads to a number of health complications and how cutting down on salt, sugar, and fat apart from oil may do good for an individual's health as well as the country's economy. To discuss this very important issue, we have two very renowned endocrinologists, Dr. Shashank R. Joshi and Dr. Banshi Sabu. Dr. Joshi and Dr. Sabu barely need an introduction, but I'll let you know that Dr. Joshi is one of the best known diabetes specialists that we have, and he's also a medical researcher. He's attached with Lilavati Hospital in Mumbai, apart from several other centers. Dr. Sabu is based out of Ahmedabad and runs the Dia Care and also is the founder of Diabetes Care India. Welcome, Dr. Joshi and Dr. Sabu. We really appreciate that you could make it for this conversation today. So, Dr. Joshi, could you please help us understand? There is a lot of anti-obesity push that we are seeing, over the last few weeks. So, how do you think, it's important and how exactly will it help, Dr. Joshi?
So thank you so much for again speaking on obesity because obesity is the mother of all diseases, whether
Mm-hmm.
they are mental health diseases, metabolic diseases, mechanical diseases. More than 250 plus disease states are linked to obesity and extra fat, actually, to be precise, because we are thin fat Indians, so we have more fat in our body fat, and whenever we have extra fat or we have fat at the abnormal site like a liver or a heart, then we tend to get a disease. So
Mm-hmm.
obesity is a worldwide problem. We are 8 billion people on planet earth, of which almost 1.4 billion people live in India, and some of us are like me and Dr. Sabu are founders of the Indian Obesity Society. Firmly believe that cutting fat and losing weight and handling people living with obesity can actually prevent not just diseases, because obesity is not a cosmetic problem. It's a
Yeah.
problem which is very much a medical problem. It's a disease state, and it will prevent type 2 diabetes, it will prevent heart disease, it will prevent depression, it will prevent osteoarthritis. So a lot of other diseases, fatty liver, so and other diseases, cancers. So all that can be prevented. So I think we really congratulate our honorable Prime Minister for putting the fight against obesity on the spotlight at the national games, because at the national games the youth is there, and it is the youth which is falling prey to fast foods and fried foods and a lot of unhealthy foods, and that
Right.
ecosystem is plugged with a lot of physical inactivity, and we need to
Hmm.
promote more sports. So he chose that moment to really echo the sentiment of fighting obesity by cutting fat and cutting oil and so on and so forth. So I think it is a very much needed push, because it's a global issue and it's a local issue and very much an Indian issue, particularly with rapid urbanization. I think we are seeing an explosion of non-communicable diseases, and as I told you, obesity is very much there.
Yeah. So since the key message that we have seen over the last few weeks has also been about making certain changes in the food. Specifically, PM mentioned cutting down oil by at least 10% in his monthly radio shows that he does. So, Dr. Sabu, would you like to talk about what exactly is the link between oil and obesity in particular, and also how much oil using per person in a family setting probably is safe. Dr.
So
Sabu.
first of all, thanks for inviting me and involving me in this wonderful discussion, which I'm sharing with Dr. Shashank. Dayas. It is very much welcome move by Government of India and our Honorable Pradhan Mantri ji have talked about that we should decrease the obesity. That's very, very important aspect. And when it comes from the government side or when it comes from our Honorable Prime Minister side, I'm sure that people will take it very, very seriously. They will understand the importance of that obesity can be decreased or it can be prevented. As Dr. Shashank has already rightly said that it is a mother of many diseases. Many of the other diseases can be prevented by just decreasing the weight of the person. Now it's a oil which is considered a fat, and that's a the calorie content of a fat is higher in compared to other macronutrients which are protein and the carbohydrate.
Mm-hmm.
The fat decrease, overall consumption of fat decrease is definitely going to help, but it is more the carbohydrate. India is having whatever our diet is, it is two-thirds of our diet is actually carbs.
Carbohydrate.
One of very important study which is done by Dr. Shashank across the country, it was a starch study, which shows that what we are consuming in our day-to-day, in our day-to-day food, is the habit is around whether person is non-vegetarian, vegetarian, still it is around 65 to 75% of the time, it is the carb intake which is more. So that instead of, yes, definitely fat decrease is very important, but instead of protein, if we can increase and we can decrease the carb content of the diet, that will help more in decreasing the weight. So it is the overall macronutrients balancing the system will help more. Definitely oil intake will also decrease, because a lot of people across the country and some of the regions like Rajasthan is the place where we consume a lot of oil in our food habits, and a lot of sweets are also made because of the ghee and oil which are there, and consumption of these oily products is also increasing very much. So decreasing that will definitely help, but it is the carb content, if we can decrease, then definitely it will help a lot in decreasing the weight. Now your next question is that how much one can consume. So that is, very the quantity which is required, one should have. There is an invisible fat and there is a visible fat.
Mm-hmm.
The oil which we consume or the ghee which we consume, or in that we are frying all those things, that is the what visible food. So as per the medical science, we don't want someone to have more frying. The frying itself is a more atherogenic, that can
Mm-hmm.
increase the risk of heart disease also. So we try to decrease as less as fry is possible. That is what is recommended. We should try to consume minimum amount of the oil and ghee directly, which you can see. But there are a lot of other invisible oils which are there, like in nuts, which we actually advise them to take more, because that's a invisible fat which is there. Like we ask them to take more nuts, which is healthy oil which is there in that. But instead of that, direct oil consumption, which is visible oil, should be decreased as less as possible. One person can consume around 2 spoon maximum in a day. Maximum he can go up to 3, but not more than that. While we are consuming more, so it's not just 10%. Maybe more decrease in oil is required, but more than that, we should decrease the carb content of the person and increase the protein intake, because we are sarcopenic. Our overall protein intake is less in India. Overall, if you just see, the protein intake is less, so we should try to increase the protein intake more.
Yeah, very important message there, that cut down your oil as much as you can, but also cut down your carbs and focus more on protein. Dr. Joshi, one question I would like to know from you is, when it comes to oil, the market is full of options and there are several types of oil. There are all sort of marketing that happens. This oil is good for your heart health. This cuts the risk of obesity and diabetes and all of those things. So actually, some oils are healthier than other oils, provided the options that we have. Also, some endocrinologists suggest limiting oil intake to maybe half a liter per month per person. So is that a
So,
scientific value that we have attached to it? Yes, please, Dr.
so there's a lot
Joshi.
of data worldwide. So it's a $1 billion question, which is the right oil. So it
Hmm.
itself means that there is no ideal oil, which is edible
Okay.
oil, and
Mm-hmm.
we should cook in less oil, less than
Mm-hmm.
half kg per person per month. It is not liter, it is kilograms, because oil is sold in kilograms. So kilogram is
Mm-hmm.
equal to a liter only. So per person, half kg per person per month is the edible oil consumption, which is listed out by the food regulators and the bodies like National Institute of Nutrition. Now you asked another question, that which is the ideal oil. So in the good
Mm-hmm.
old days, there is saturated fat, MUFA and PUFA. And globally, worldwide, people thought that the Mediterranean diet is the best diet, and that is why they propagated olive oil. But the Indian olive oil is actually the rice bran oil. And the work done from an NIN, National Institute of Nutrition, which is the ICMR body, showed that the Indian olive oil is the rice bran oil. But we realized that we don't have the right balance of MUFA, PUFA, omega 3 to omega 6 fatty acids, and therefore multi seed edible oils which are blended, and the FSSAI and NIN allows you 2 to 3 oils to be blended in a 70-30 blend, or a 80-20 blend, or a 70-20 and 10 blends, in which there is some safflower which is PUFA, there is some rice bran which is having some MUFA, or you can have a flaxseed with the olive oil blend. But that is the way it has to be done. But other important thing in oil is cook in less oil, have a healthy cooking habit, as Dr. Bansi rightly said, don't fry because we love to fry. Have We need to have a better cooking method, and do not reheat in the same oil. The biggest thing which happens many a times with street vendors and other restaurants is we cook in reheat the food in the same oil. So these are important tips which are necessary. No single edible oil is ideal. We should try to reduce frying. We should try better cooking methods. We should limit the cooking medium and cook at home. Unfortunately, we are ordering from outside. And whenever we are ordering from outside cooked oil may not be the most healthy oil. And then if you're cooking at home, have a multi seeds, either rotate oils, means in 1 month you can have one oil, the other month you can have another oil, or have a blend of two or three oils. That's the optimal way to do it. We have done some science around this. The final verdict on this is not out, but one thing is very clear, that we need to cook in less oil, and we need to fry less, and we need to ensure that we have healthy cooking practices as well as healthy eating practices. And I agree with Dr. Sabu completely. Eat less, total calories to be reduced. Eat less carbs and fats and increase protein. That's what our STAR study showed.
Yeah, yeah. So there is a related question. So maybe till 50 years back, people believe that ghee is better compared to the refined oil and all other oil that we consume. Then there came a time that ghee is not good. You should go for refined oil. Be- which is better. Now again there is a push for how ghee is better as compared to other oil that we consume. Would you like to answer and clarify for our viewers, is there actually some benefit that ghee actually has compared to other oil that we consume in our everyday practice?
So from
So
metabolic standpoint, ghee is not a good oil. It has good saturated fat. So when there is
Okay.
saturated fat, it is good for the HDL cholesterol. That there is no question asked about it. But anything in excess, I agree with Dr. Sabu completely. If you take more than a teaspoonful, which is visible, that ghee will be counterproductive. So I think that is something which we need to recognize. We need to balance out everything: the saturated fat, the polyunsaturated fat, and MUFA fat. I'm sure Bansi comes from Rajasthan and stays in Gujarat. And that's the place which is the ghee world, as they call it. So I think he will
Mm-hmm.
have a comment on the same. But limiting
Yeah,
ghee is also very important, and ensure that there is no trans fat. See, the problem is there are traces of trans fat. We have to have zero trans fat. There is no question. Worldwide, the only thing which we know in the entire oil story and the fat story is zero trans fat. That's clear cut. Okay,
yeah.
so we
Mm-hmm.
should not have any trans fat from any source. Limit saturated fat and have a balance of PUFA and MUFA. That's the way to go. And definitely
Yeah.
ghee has some degree of sat fat. Bansi?
yes, so saturated fat is to be decreased also. That's very, very important because it's a saturated, unsaturated, that again unsaturated PUFA and PUFA, what the combination, what Shashank was telling. Very important message we should go that frying and refrying is to be stopped. We are doing more and more frying method is the normal cooking method which we are using. In that also you use either oil or ghee. Both of them are not good. If you are taking ghee, it should be again a minimum quantity because directly it contains a lot of saturated fat, and only to use it for a very minimum quantity which they should try to use it. But in Rajasthan, as he is
There is a
rightly
very
said,
practical question that is coming to my mind now. Nowadays, a lot of people are actually switching to air frying. So, are there any scientific evidences yet on how air frying may be better, probably than the, because in Indian cooking particularly we use a lot of frying. So, is
there are
air
a lot of
frying
alternative
better option?
methods of cooking also. So the
Mhm.
boiling and the other methods where you are not going to
Floating
use the
boiling.
oil, and they can be a good way of reducing the overall oil intake, and trans fats consumption will be also decreased significantly. So yes,
Yeah.
they are a good way of doing a alternate way of cooking.
Mhm. So, in Indian context, when we talk about nutrition, till some time back, the focus entirely was on malnutrition. Now we are seeing, other side of the spectrum where a large number of people have this problem of overnutrition.
Because
So,
overnutrition is also malnutrition.
yeah, it's also a form of malnutrition, but probably a different kind of malnutrition. So, quick tips from both of you, our viewers will really benefit from if you tell us what are the ways of preventing and this form of malnutrition, as you said. Dr.
We have a
Sabu, would
dual
you like?
geopardy. You have a dual geopardy. Eat less, eat slowly, eat on time, reduce your carbs and fats, increase your proteins, and just doing diet is not enough. Do physical activity to build some muscle mass, do some yoga, and also sleep for a good 7 hours and smile. It's a holistic approach for lifestyle, and only then we can make a dent on the overall health of obesity or fat or non-communicable diseases.
So, other than that, what Shashank has told that is to be done, the first thing one should see, where is my protein? When you see the plate, the see first the where is the protein. Protein is the most important thing, and that increase we should try to increase the intake of protein. In the morning time, people are not consuming the protein, that they should try to also increase
Mm.
intake of protein. Well, normally in India they try to take the bread, poya, upma, thepla, idli, dosa, all those are more of carbs. Rather, they should try to increase their protein intake in the morning. So, like egg is good, milk, those who are taking that is good, sprouts is good, nuts can be taken. So, this, try to increase the protein intake because that's really less across the country. As I talked about the stars study, and then the carb content can be reduced significantly. It's really very, very high. People feel that char chapati is normal, or two paratha is fine with them, and they take normal diet, but it's really very high the calorie wise also. And don't fry, that is the very, very important aspect. And try to decrease the intake of oil, or try to decrease the overall visible oil or visible ghee as less as possible. 2 teaspoon is the maximum. That will be around half kg for one person per month.
Yeah. So while individuals, we have been talking a lot about the changes that we can probably make in our lifestyle and our dietary patterns in order to reduce the risk of the metabolic diseases as well as obesity. Are there some policy level changes that you two would like to see also in order to, make sure that our food patterns really improve at a country level? Dr. Joshi, would you like to take that question first?
I think we are seeing some change led from the top because we are seeing a focus on non-communicable diseases. We are seeing focus on physical activity with a yoga day at sports games. Our prime minister championing the cause of obesity. So that's a very good welcome thing. At the policy level, the FSSAI has already got a eat right movement. We are having regulation on food. We are having some states having some taxation on foods and unhealthy foods. We are seeing front of label packing. So, but food is very impulsive. Okay, so behaviors are very tough to change, and it is
Yeah.
our children who are very vulnerable to this. And it's
Mm-hmm.
important to do a little more tighter regulation on the advertorials, which are influencing the young children to consume extra calories, and that is the harbinger of obesity and mother of all diseases. So we would definitely like to make a fervent push to have a little more stringent regulation on the advertising, both through social media as well as through all medias, including your media, uh, to ensure that the food habits which promote unhealthy foods are not pushed to a very vulnerable pediatric population and their mothers.
Yeah, Dr. Sabu, we have, like Dr. Joshi was mentioning, we have seen a rise, tremendous rise in the consumption of ultra processed food in the country over the last few years. What message do you have in order to ensure that
Some,
probably?
some policy change may help, but as he has rightly said, it's a behavior change which is very, very difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that constant, if they get messages through the media, or they continuously see that, how healthy food is going to give them better life or better quality of life, and with a less risk of developing diabetes, coronary artery disease, and other problems, people may change, or they may change at least for the next generation. There will be change, because diet change means complete lifestyle of a family has to be changed. It's not the one person you can change. So, like when person comes with a person who is coming, and we are trying to change the habit of that person's lifestyle or his diet change, but other family members are eating all other things, there is very, very difficult that person will change. But if complete family starts doing, like they are going to have a healthy breakfast, a person, maybe only one person is diabetic or other person is having heart disease, but if complete family starts understanding the importance of this change in habit of their diet, for maybe for one person, but others will also get prevented by getting the problem. So I mean, definitely the policy change, more advertisement of healthy foods, the hotels, the restaurants, they will try to put their, in front of what calories they are giving, how much oil or how much carbs contained in that particular diet. If they start giving that sort of information in advance, probably things will change. Today we are seeing that whatever the food which is written in that in the menu, you will find that on right side they are just writing the amount what they are having. If we had done a blue dot campaign before a few years, me and Shashank and many others in India by Diabetes India, blue mean it's a healthy food option. So try to
Mhm.
give, in the menu card that this is the healthy food option. Like we have a green which is vegetarian, you have red for a non-vegetarian. There can be a blue dot campaign, which is like a blue mean it's a healthy campaign. Then at the
Mhm.
same time, with each item, they can write also what are the different contents of it, and at least the calorie content of that also can be written. Whether it's fried or non-fried, which is healthy or not. Also, some sort of like this information, if they start giving, probably people will become more aware before eating also. At least
Yeah.
portion size they can decrease. If you want to eat, your portion size also very important. Sometimes you are taking something which is very calorie dense item, but still the portion if I can decrease, that will also help the people for decreasing the obesity.
Yeah, very useful perspectives there. I am sure that we'll have a national movement of a kind where people will start adopting the behavioral changes that are required to make, to make the risk of these diseases come down. Thank you so much. Really appreciate both of you could join us for this conversation today. Really glad that you were there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joshi and Dr. Sabu. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.